Hello, this is Dr. Fault again, and I'm going to be talking about how to create a macro uh, using Dragon Naturally Speaking. And to do that, first I want to go over where you can find your macros after you create them. If you look in the Tools bar, where the cursor is right now, and go to Command Browser, open that up, you can see a list of all the created commands, and if you click on the Dragon folder, you can see the ones that come with Dragon. If you notice, some of these are uncap that, uncapitalize that, that kind of thing. These are already built in, and they are what allow Dragon to do what it does. But you're also able to define your own commands, and these essentially are macros. Now what I'm going to do is open up one of the macros that I've created just so you can see what it looks like after it's created, and then I'll show you how to make them. This is my knee exam, and if you look up here under my command name, you'll see the command name that I've given it, insert knee exam, and I want to go over the naming convention here for just a second. In order to have a macro do something, it has to have a command name, and there are really a couple that you could use. You can use insert or paste, and so the first word has to be a command name, and then the second words or subsequent words have to be something that you're going to remember if you're ever going to use the command. If you forget, you can always open the command browser and look up the various commands that you put in there to help you remember, and I have to do this on a pretty regular basis because I forget things fairly easy, and it's getting more so as I get older, and also I have a lot of commands, so you may have to look it up. The other thing I would mention is when you first create a command, go ahead and train the computer to hear that command every time you do it, because if you don't train it, a lot of times Dragon will get messed up. And the reason for that is these aren't normal sentences. No one says insert knee exam, and so Dragon has a tendency to misunderstand what you're trying to say, but if you train it, you won't have that problem. And then if you want to, you can put something in the description just to help you remember what it was for. I don't think anybody would have any problem knowing what a knee exam was, but if you had a big macro for a much larger exam, you might want something like that. And then saving in group allows you to save it in the user-defined menu. Or if you wanted to put your name on a folder, you could type your name in here and it'd save under your name. Availability, I always click global so that I can use macros in any program that I'm working in. But if you have a macro that you know you're going to only use in one particular application, you can click application specific. And then also Windows specific is a command that works best when you're doing a macro that is not text and graphics. And by that I mean, if you click on this box, you can see that you have macro recorder macros and step-by-step macros. I'm not going to go over how to create those because it is a little intensive and I don't do it very often, and I don't want to steer you wrong. But if you do a step-by-step macro, or especially a macro recorder, it'll be different for every window that you're in, so that really makes a big difference. Now if you do a text and graphic macro, which is going to be the most common type, it essentially means that the content's going to be down here in this box, and that you can use this word processing bar to help you develop it. You have a clipboard, you have a copy, you have bold, italics, and underline if you want to use them. You can change the font here. You can change the way it appears so that If you wanted to center it, you could center it that way, but this is the variable key. If you want to insert a variable, which this particular macro has variables, if you look, there are little brackets around certain words, and that's a variable field. If you were creating de novo a macro, you can just click this button and it would create a variable. I'll show you what that looks like. If you look up here where the cursor is, it'll throw in a default value. It'll just say default value, and you can dictate inside those brackets whatever you want the default to be, or leave it as default value and it'll stay that way, just like that. Now I'm going to take that out because we don't need it. So the long and short of it is, the one way to create a macro would be to just sit here and either dictate in or type in the content in the content box as to what you wanted the macro to say, give it a command name, put it in text and graphics. The last thing you want to do is push the plain text button. If you're going to be using it in Alta, what that allows it to do is have the same font as the program that you're working in. And then you push the save button. Now that's one way to create a macro, and then every time you go to a field and you want to insert that macro, you just simply give the command name. And I'm going to demonstrate this in Microsoft Word. Insert knee exam. And there's the same macro. And you notice again that I have the variables in here. If I wanted to move through variables, I would simply say next field, or you can say next variable and it'll work as well. Next field, next variable. And to clear the delimiters on the side of the brackets, you just say clear variable delimiters. Clear variable delimiters. And they're all gone. Once you clear them, you can't get them back, or at least I don't think you can. Let's see if you can. Actually, you can by just doing undo, and you can put them back in. So if you wanted to create a new macro, one way is the way I just showed you, where you dictate in the box. The other way is to create a macro from scratch in another program. Let's say, for example, you were in Alta and you just dictated what you think is the best physical exam on the face of the planet, and you wanted to save that particular physical exam. What you can do is say, let's pretend that this is the physical exam I want. You just say select all, make that a shortcut, and you notice when I did that, it automatically opened my commands editor and placed the text of what I asked it to select in the content box. Now, since I already have a knee exam, I'm not going to redo this, but that is essentially how easy it is to make a macro. And what I'd recommend is, just work through patient encounters and that kind of thing. And when you have an exam that you know that you want to save, or if you find an exam template on the maps disk or so forth, you simply cut and paste that in if you want to, or I can show you how we could do it on the maps disk, because I have it on this computer. If you give me just a second. Alright, this is my maps disk, and if I wanted to copy a template, if I can find it here. Let's say we did a well child 10-year-old. We just open this up. I've never seen this, so it may be useful and it may not. Yeah, this is pretty good. So we got a good physical exam here. And I can copy that. Make that a shortcut. Notice that I've got it in the content field, and if I wanted to, and this is a male here, if it was a female we'd have to change the GU section, but if I wanted to say insert well child exam, go, insert well child exam, done. Again, I go down, push the plain text button. Exam for male only. Scratch that. I have a better idea. Let's say we go down here and change this to a delimiter box, and then it will work for either male or female because I can just go to this box and change it. And after I put brackets around testicles, then when I save this now, I can go through and just change whether it's a male or a female and work only on those areas that are variables, and it'll work very well. And I'll just show you what I mean. Insert well child exam. Next field. Female. Next field. External genitalia. So notice we were able to do a female exam just by changing a couple of words, assuming that all these are normal. And again, if you wanted to make these variables, you could make all of them variables, just like I did for the GU exam. And then you'd pretty much have a physical exam for a well child visit. And I don't know if you noticed, but on that maps folder, we also had the review of systems for a well child exam and that kind of thing. And so you could use the entire note if you wanted to make shortcuts with all of these, period. So that's really it as far as how to make a macro. There are many macros on the maps folder on the CERMC website. You can also locate macros on the Virtual Maps Community website. So there are a lot of different ways to get macros, and you can change them to fit your own personal style as you need to. But it's really a simple process, and you can actually share macros if you wanted to. I'll show you how to do that real quick. So if you go to Tools in Command Browser and you click on one that, say for example, you wanted to, well, I shouldn't have double clicked it, let's go back. This is a laparoscopic cholecystectomy operation note, and let's say I wanted to send that to one of the surgeons. I just click the export. I give it a file name, I could be dictating this. I don't know why I'm not. And I'm going to go ahead and save it on my desktop. It's going to save as a text file, a data file. Let's see if I can find it now that I went here. And this is the biggest challenge. There it is. Now it's not recognized right now, but if you were to want to import this, you could email this to a friend or neighbor, and what they do to get this in their command browser is you just simply go here and you go to import and go to desktop, and there's a lap op report, and open, and it's going to ask you where you want to put it. And since I want to have it under user defined and all my commands, so let's see if we import it. And see, now it's going to try to overwrite my file, which of course I could tell it to do that, but I'm not going to. But it's essentially, obviously the same one. I used it to demonstrate this, so I'm not going to overwrite it. But what it would do is put this in your list. And it's really that simple. And honestly, that's probably one of the easier ways to get some of the bigger files in your command browser. I know that at our hospital we do share these, and they work very well. So that's about all I'm going to cover right now on this. If you have any questions, you can always email me at john.fault@amed.army.mil. Thank you.